Long before trade winds whispered across the Sahara, before maps were inked with the certainty of our modern world, there stood a forgotten Kasbah at the edge of the Atlas Mountains, Ait Amlil. A name half buried in legend. Half alive in fear, Yusuf had grown up hearing that name spoken only in hushed tones. In the labyrinthine alleys of Fez, surrounded by the sharp scent of leather tanneries and the sweet smoke of burning incense, the elders would warn the children. Don't chase glory into the desert, they'd say. The sands remember, and not all memories forgive. But Yusuf was different. He was a mapmaker's son, raised among stacks of parchment, the delicate dance of compass needles, and stories etched in fading ink. His own story was marked by a great absence. His father had vanished 20 years earlier, while charting caravan routes beyond the Dra Valley. All he left behind was a cracked astrolabe and a single, tantalizingly unfinished map. At its center was a symbol, drawn in what must have been a moment of great haste, a seven-pointed star, carved into a mountain, Ait Amlil. On the night Yusuf turned 25, the wind rattled his shutters with a strange and unusual fury. He lit a candle, and as the flame steadied, the old astrolabe on his table began to tremble. The needle spun wildly, a blur of brass, before it stopped dead, pointing directly south. In that moment, a quiet resolve settled over him. By dawn, Yusuf had made his decision. His journey began in the High Atlas, a world of red stone peaks where snow clung stubbornly to the high crevices. Here, Amazigh villages seemed to grow from the cliffs themselves, like prayers carved into the very rock. Yusuf wasn't alone. He traveled with a small, weathered caravan and a seasoned guide named Rachid, whose face was a map of its own, lined like ancient riverbeds, and Al-Zahraa, a quiet herbalist who, it was rumored, could speak with spirits. One night, gathered around the crackling warmth of a campfire, Rachid's gaze met Yusuf's. "You seek the Kasbah," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "Then you must understand this. Ait Amlil does not appear to those who simply look for it. It reveals itself only to those it chooses." Zahra threw a handful of dried herbs into the flames. The fire hissed, spitting sparks of brilliant green into the night air. "The land is old," she said, her voice a calm current in the vast silence. "Older than kings. Older than any faith. You are walking on stories, and some stories can wake." That night, Yusuf dreamed. He saw his father standing beneath a lonely desert moon, his shadow stretching unnaturally long across the dunes until it was swallowed entirely by the sand. The dream left him with a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. Beyond the Atlas, the Sahara opened up a vast, silent, and merciless expanse of gold and blue. The days blurred into shimmering waves of heat, and the nights froze your breath into ghostly plumes. The desert tested them, pushing them to their limits. On the seventh day, a sandstorm rose from the horizon without warning. It was a churning, roaring wall of sand that swallowed the sky and the earth, erasing the world in a blinding tempest. When the storm finally passed, and the air cleared, they stood before a vision that was both impossible and undeniable. A Kasbah, emerging from the freshly settled dunes as if it had just been born. Its walls were etched with symbols older than any script Yusuf knew, ancient Amazigh runes intertwined with the fluid, intricate markings of jinn. Its towers leaned, as if tired of standing guard for millennia. The very air around them vibrated, a low hum, like a held breath. This was it. Ait Amlil. As they cautiously stepped through its gates, the ground itself seemed to shift beneath their feet. Doors appeared in solid walls where there had been none before. Whispers echoed through the empty courtyards, spoken in no tongue they had ever heard. "This city was sealed," Zahra murmured, her eyes wide with awe and reverence. "Bound by an ancient oath, and by blood." They were drawn, as if by an invisible current, to the heart of the Kasbah. There, they found a deep well, its water as black and still as a starless night. And from its depths, a voice rose, echoing not in their ears, but in their minds. "You return, son of Idris." Yusuf froze. Idris. His father's name. From the shadows of a great archway, a figure began to coalesce, being of smoke and shimmering gold. A jinn of the old pact, a guardian bound to this city since the age of the great caravan kings. Your father broke the covenant, the jinn's voice continued, resonating with the weight of ages. He sought to claim what was never meant to be owned, the Chronicle of Sands, a relic that remembers every soul ever lost to the desert. A knot tightened in Yusuf's chest. Is he alive? The jinn's eyes burned brighter, like twin embers. He became part of the memory. The words were a sentence, and Yusuf finally understood the nature of his father's disappearance. The jinn offered him a choice. To reclaim the chronicle would be to rewrite fate itself. It would reveal lost cities, forgotten empires, and truths that had been buried by the shifting sands of time. But the price for such knowledge was absolute. The desert gives knowledge, the jinn declared, its voice echoing with power, but it takes belonging. Rachid instinctively took a step back. Zahra bowed her head in understanding. Yusuf knew what it meant. If he chose the chronicle, he would never return to Fez. He would never again walk its bustling markets, smell the spices, or hear the call to prayer echo over the rooftops. He would never be forgotten, but he would never again be remembered as a man. He thought of his father, the mapmaker who went too far. He thought of all the unfinished maps, of all the stories that deserved to survive, to be told. Looking at the jinn, his voice clear and steady, Yusuf said, "I accept." In an instant, the sands around them rose in a great vortex. The Casbah trembled, its ancient stones groaning. And then, Amel, the city of legend, vanished once more into the dunes, this time forever. Years passed. Along the old caravan routes, travelers began to share strange tales. They spoke of a mysterious guide who would appear to lost caravans, leading them to safety through impossible storms. His eyes, they said, reflected the stars, and his voice carried the timeless patience of the dunes. And back in Fez, in the dusty archives of the Mapmakers Guild, a new map appeared one day, placed anonymously on a table. It was the map of the caravan routes beyond the Dra Valley. And it was, at last, complete. There was no signature. Only a small, 7-pointed star, etched in the corner. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the crossroads of history and myth.